Welcome to Let's Be Perfectly Queer,
a queer podcast creating space to talk about all things queer.
My name is Archie.
And I'm Katie.
And we are your hosts.
Questions of how you identify, seeking answers to clarify. Whether you're queen
or somewhere in between, let's be perfectly queer.
And we're back.
We are back, and what are we talking about today?
Good question,
Yeah.
honey. What are we talking about?
So on today's episode, we're looking at some news, because it's been a while. I've been a bit lazy with the news front, and we're also looking at the history of the rainbow flag.
Oh, very interesting. I do like it.
But before we get into that, what have we been up to?
Well, I've not been up to much, to be honest. Not to be gravely honest. I've not really been out there in any fun... I don't want to capture myself, but I feel like I've not been doing that much shit. I have not been up to very much at all. What have you been up to?
So yeah, I went to Perth Barn Dance, and that was a lot of fun. It's an annual event that is run by Vic Park Pride, and it's a fundraising event. There's a lot of boot scooting and line dancing and tooting, all that kind of stuff, and it's great fun. This year's theme was denim and diamonds, and yeah, it was a great fun.
I think that was the same genre. Topic. What would you call it?
Theme.
Thank you. Thanks, honey. You're half my brain. I think that's the same theme that Beyonce did, didn't it? Wasn't
I
it?
have no idea.
At one of their concerts?
Possibly. I'm the wrong person to be
I know
asking
you
those
are.
kind of questions. I have no idea.
To be honest, I'm asking the people that are listening. I'm like, pretty sure Beyonce in her last concert, she did Denim and Diamonds. And then, yeah, anyway, not the point.
Possibly, because
maybe it was Silver.
Did that coincide with her country album?
Yeah,
Yeah?
I think it maybe would have been Silver. God, I'm not a Beyonce fan in that regard. I like her. I think she would be a really nice person to meet. But I think that was the same. I was wondering if the people who created Barn Dance were a good Beyonce fan. I would say they're probably more Beyonce than Taylor Swift.
Or they're probably thinking, hey, everybody wears denim.
Well, it is
denim,
boot
diamonds.
scooting.
Yeah, kind of works. I have no idea. We might have to ask the creators of the event to let us know what was the influence behind the theme.
God, we could go and do some interviews there.
We could.
It would be crazy, to say the least.
Yeah.
I think it's an 18 plus event.
It is an 18 plus event.
There is
Even saying that, though, there was like a kid who was like 6 there.
6.
Yeah, she was like a 6. She was watching us play Jenga.
Ah, okay. That's
Yeah.
a bit weird.
Yeah.
I mean, it is after dark. I think it starts around 6 o'clock or something.
It starts at 6 and it finishes at midnight.
And it is like an alcoholic beveragino event. So
Yeah. Always 11. Midnight 11. Yeah.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I was like, okay, this is the first time I've seen a kid there. But no, it was good fun. Ran into a few friends and that was lovely as well. And yeah.
Something I would have wanted to go to. I went last year and I had so much fun and I tripped over while doing line dancing with random strangers.
On a ring, right?
On a ring.
Didn't you slide her on a ring or something?
No. I don't know. I'm not sure what happened. Anyway, I tripped over and this beautiful lesbian saved me. Saved my life.
Well, me and Amy were boot scooting in the corner
I
because
know.
people around us did not know how to do the progressive thing. So we just gave up and we just like, we'll just dance in the corner.
It was
by
so
ourselves.
freaking good. I was getting twirled by short kings. I was getting flown around by like tall women. It was great. I really enjoyed it.
It's a great event.
There is nothing quite like having somebody who can twirl you that just, I don't know, there's something in me that makes me very giddy. I'm like, it's perfect. I'm like a child. You know I'm not very good at dancing.
You're pretty good at dancing. What are you talking
I
about?
don't know. I think I've stepped on your feet a fair
Oh, you
amount
step on
of
my
time.
feet, but doesn't it? Most people do.
Yeah, fair. Okay, fair. One day I want to learn proper dancing though.
Yeah, well, you've been saying that for like 2-3 years. But we've
That's
also
true.
been obsessed with Overcooked.
Oh, we have.
We've been playing that a lot.
If you're wanting to know what Overcooked is, it's a Nintendo Switch game that happens to be about making
So basically,
recipes.
there's an Onion King and with a dog named Kevin, and
Oh, yeah,
we've been playing
Kevin.
Overcooked too. So there's the zombie bread, also known as the unbread, and you have to cook fast enough to keep the unbread at bay and that kind of thing. So we've been playing Overcooked too, and we got obsessed with that. And we finished it quite quickly.
And we should be sponsored by them.
Yeah, Overcooked. Are you listening? Sponsor us. We'll play all the games and we'll give you our honest review. Number 1 is not as good as number 2.
Yeah, number 2 is hella great.
Yeah, number 2 you can throw, which makes a massive difference. And I just feel like we're talking about it. It's just a bit more responsive in terms of the gameplay and the control.
More intuitive as well, in a way, and there's more features to it. And it really much strikes nostalgia in me because I feel like when we grew up, there was lots
Cooking
of
Mama.
these. Oh, I don't know if I ever played that.
Cooking Mama on the Nintendo DS, it reminds me so much of Cooking Mama.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I used to love these kind of games. I was a sucker for it. It was so good.
It's good fun.
And it's great. And now,
now we
we're
have it.
obsessed. We are just children.
But yeah, that's pretty much what we've been up to. I have a prac student at the moment, and that's good. It's just a lot of work, and it makes you extra tired because you're constantly on. So that's pretty much it. You've just been working a lot.
Yeah, I've been working a lot. It has been all work and no play.
A little bit of play.
This young girl.
Because we also went to Frothtown.
Oh yeah, shit, that was fun. I don't remember what we did.
We went to Frothtown and that was good fun as well.
Oh yeah, so Frothtown, I mean, this is a fun thing. You should all just come to Perth and we'll show you around Perth and then we'll just have a Let's Be Perfectly Queer gang. Oh, also, sorry to digress for a second, but at Barn Dance, Archie had bedazzled a denim vest that said queer on it. So on the back, he bedazzled queer in diamantes, and it was the most beautiful, and it still is because it's intact, the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
I'm surprised it's intact. It took forever. I think it took me, a good 6 to 8 hours to get it all done. Every little bit was done by hand, painstakingly.
Yeah, very true.
With my fingers and the tiny little diamantes, but yeah.
And so I'm not sure, are you still planning on doing Let's Be Perfectly Queer on it, or are you just going to leave the queer?
If we get into Fair Day, hopefully, then I'll get the rest of it finished. But it's not going to be all. Maybe I think the B will be in diamantes and the Let's and Perfectly will probably be in acrylic.
Yeah, fair. That'd be good.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we already have our submission in for Fair Day, so you might see us there.
Fingers crossed.
Our little stall in which we'll be selling merchandise. We would love to chat to you if you're a listener. If you're not a listener, just come and have a chat to us. I don't know how you would know us if you're not a listener and I'm talking to you right now. So it's such an interesting dichotomy in that.
We also have my sister to help out and sell this year, which would make it easier so we can actually have the time to actually have a conversation with you guys.
Feel free to have a chat to Elise as well. And you can tell them how much they don't look alike as twins. That's great.
Yeah. Anyway, should we get onto the show?
Let's jump into it.
All right. So before we go to the show, actually, we're going to go to the news.
Yay. Hi, everybody. So on today's news segment, I just wanted to put out a warning. We are going to be talking about issues against the queer community, including misinformation, suicidal ideation, and other such issues that promote hate towards the queer community. If you're feeling sensitive or if this is not a topic you want to listen to, please jump ahead and put a timestamp in the show notes to where you can jump ahead.
I'm sure that you have seen the controversy that the Australian government has decided to exclude LGBTQIA plus questions from the 2026 census.
Serious?
Oh, you haven't seen this?
Oh, no, I have.
Yeah.
I just kind of had forgotten because that's how my brain works.
When the government sent out a Sunday morning whisper about the 2026 census, they knew there was going to be some backlash, or they expected some form of backlash, but they got a lot more than they expected. It was plastered all over Instagram. There was a lot of campaigns and petitions already started because of it. So I think they weren't prepared how much backlash they were going to get, which also kind of goes into the fact of where you need the census because, hey, maybe there's more LGBT people in Australia than you realise. And I think the backlash that happened was a big sign that, hey, you need to add a question to the census.
Absolutely, because if the census is meant to represent what we actually have, the type of people that we've got in Australia and how we can support them, and that data from the census, from the Bureau of Statistics, gets used in everything.
It helps build policies and it helps to where money gets invested and everything like that. So, you know, LGBTQIA advocates expected there was going to be a question about sexuality, and I'm pretty sure, don't quote me, that the Albanese government said that they were going to include a question about sexuality and identity in the next census. So it's kind of weird that, hey, it's coming out in 2026 and you're deciding, no, we're not going to include it. Obviously, it made people really mad, and you need to have a question about the LGBTQIA plus community because it provides a reliable picture of the size and distribution of LGBT plus people in Australia.
Yeah, it's so true. I find that absolutely crazy because so in the National Health and Quality Standards, it's mandated that you actually have some acknowledgement and representation of LGBTQIA plus individuals and education and such things. So in the fact that there is some governing authority that does highlight that this is a huge issue that people need to be aware of, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh no, but we don't want to capture that data.
Right? Which it makes no sense. The Sex Discrimination Commissioner, Anna Cody, accused the government of giving in to the voices of discrimination and division that seek to disrupt the nation's social cohesion and urged a reversal.
Oh, I agree with Anna.
Behind closed doors, Labor frontbenchers and backbenchers were lobbying the Prime Minister to reconsider. Which, even today, I saw a post up from the court on TikTok and for their Pride event. And then what I found quite interesting was there was already comments about, like, I can't wait till we go back to normal and get rid of all this BS. It's like, what do you mean back to normal? I think it's someone who doesn't like the fact that there are LGBTQIA plus people who are out and being themselves and having events. And yeah, so, it just really shows that because there is a lot of homophobia that is in Australia at the moment and worldwide, it's like the government know that elections are coming up, and instead of actually doing the right thing, they're like, oh no, we're not going to add it because it's all about buying votes. That's what I think anyway.
And God forbid we want to just have rights as normal human beings.
Right? That would be...
God forbid that.
I know. And like be counted where, our taxpayers' money is going to go to something, so we want to be included in where that money goes.
Absolutely. In the representation of our relationships and how we identify. Right. Oh, wow. If you can identify your marriage as a heterosexual couple, why can't I identify marriage as a non-heterosexual couple?
Right.
Like, what the fuck is that about?
Australia's leading health research institutes have signed a joint statement calling on the government to include questions on sexuality and gender identity in the 2026 census. Multiple leading health and research organisations have said that excluding LGBTQIA plus questions from the census would put LGBT plus Australians at greater risk of marginalisation and disadvantage. They also said inclusion was crucial to provide equal public health access. And this is what, it's about having the same access as everyone else. The omission of comprehensive data collection on sex, gender and innate variations of sex characteristics will undermine our ability to understand the health needs and socio-economic well-being of LGBTQIA plus populations.
Absolutely, because it also adds to data that we gather about domestic violence. It adds to data we gather about support services we need in the community. Definitely, like I said, for healthcare, it definitely does. And like just how important and the different minorities that are out there in Australia, because we are multicultural. We do have diverse individuals that live in this lovely country of ours. We need to actually highlight that rather than being like, oh no, don't look at them. Just let them sit in the corner and we won't count them.
After all the backlash, Prime Minister Albanese stated that the ABS would proceed with testing one new question on sexuality.
Oh, fuck. What kind of question are you going to ask?
But so what do you think the reason for not wanting to include LGBTQIA plus and sex variation questions?
It's hard to say because there are so many different levels that this could come from. It could come from we don't want to change it because it's too much money towards it, because if they're using the same questions as previously, the investigation into what kind of questions need to be asked and what would be appropriate probably would cost more money, even though that's the appropriate route to go on. It could be that they don't want to highlight the issue that has already there, and the amount of funding and education that would have to go into the queer community would be greater. So I feel like it's all about money. It's all about money and maybe like fear that the more queer people out there, the more old white men worry.
I think it is based on votes. I think definitely votes is one of it because trying to appeal to the majority, and then it's not even the majority, it's probably the loudest people who are very homophobic and say a lot of homophobic rhetoric and all that kind of stuff online and in platforms. So I think that's a major thing. I also think that it's not about cost of money about putting stuff into the census. I think it's cost of money of like, oh, we have to spread our money further in places where it should have already been going and looking at that kind of stuff. So I think that's probably why. And I think they're going with it, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But it is very broke and they just don't realise it.
Do you think that there's a certain element of what's happening in America and the amount of uproar in America about the queer community and how anti-queer they are at the moment and how Australia tends to follow it? So they're like, oh, wait, this is what America's doing. Maybe we need to put a pin in this for now, just in case there's an issue here of contention.
I think 100%. Because remember when the government went ahead and said, okay, we are going to allow gay marriage, and then the uproar? Yeah. But it was just a small minority with very loud voices. And I think even if you look at America, I think it is a small minority that are very, very loud and in positions of power that are making decisions for everybody else, and then people are listening.
So true.
So I think, with Albanese, he is scared for votes, I honestly think it's that. And so he doesn't want to rock the boat. But sometimes you need to rock the boat.
You do. And
to make a difference.
You have to rock the boat to make a difference. You can't make a difference if you keep on the straight and narrow, which is what everyone else is doing. Quick question that's a bit frivolous. When people marry inanimate objects, Is that a real marriage?
I don't know. That's the US, so I have no idea.
Ah.
We don't have the same thing here.
Oh, I find that so weird. You know how when
Yeah.
people are marrying bridges and cars and all
And
that
a piece
kind
of
of stuff?
cake and all that.
You can marry a
That
piece.
was Peter Griffin's. It was on an episode.
I was just like, people can't
Family
marry
Guy.
a piece of cake. It's not going to
Remember
stay
that he
alive.
ate the cake?
Oh, God, I literally
No,
was
it was a
going to
piece of pie.
say.
It was a piece of pie, something like that.
Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. But I was
Yeah.
just like, how can you marry a bridge but then not let somebody marry another consenting human being?
Don't know.
So interesting. Oh, America, you've got some funny ways.
So what's next? The Australian Bureau of Statistics will run testing on the wording of any question in the lead up to the next national survey. But Anthony Albanese used an ABC radio interview and said this: "We've been talking with the Australian Bureau of Statistics and they are going to test for a new question 1 on sexuality." He further said...
Just
there
on
will-
sexuality.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
He further said there will be a question if it is successfully tested.
On whom?
But also if it's successfully tested, it means like, hey, we don't have to do it. We're just trying to silence our critics right now who are getting angry at us. Because if you look at that word, it's not, hey, we're going to put one in if successfully tested.
What does that even mean if successfully tested? There's so many different questions that comes up. It's like, how many people are you testing on? Where's the demographic of testing? How long are you going to test it for? Like, who are you asking to create this one question that's on
Right.
sexuality? And then
Right.
you're totally negating all the other people out
That's
there
it.
who've got diverse genders.
That's
You're
what I was about to
fucking,
say.
Like, not understanding the whole fucking queer community. It's
That-
not just one bloody thing,
But
you
it's also,
bollocks.
it doesn't only just affect the queer community. Think about intersex individuals
Absolutely.
who are not part of the LGBTQIA plus community, but are not getting the accurate healthcare that they deserve and need because you're not putting the right words into the census.
Completely. And people who are intersex are incredibly nuanced.
Right?
Like, what the fuck?
If you don't include the question, LGBTQIA plus people and people who have sex variations are not going to get the healthcare that they need.
No. Well, they are in a way, but you have to make sure that you've got the right education, and the right education comes from this. Granted, thankfully, I was going to say thankfully, we actually have some understanding about the queer community, but definitely not.
No.
Definitely not enough.
But this actually leads into the next news topic.
All right, hit me.
So, the Victorian coroner, Ingrid Giles, has called for urgent healthcare investment for trans and gender diverse individuals following an investigation into the suicides of 5 young transgender women in Melbourne during the pandemic. Giles emphasised systematic failures in both the healthcare and policing systems, which contributed to these tragedies. So, the key recommendations from the coroner include improving access to gender-affirming care. Waitlists at public gender clinics were deemed untenable. And Giles called for increased resources for publicly funded gender-affirming healthcare services, which links back to the census, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The coroner urged better support systems for trans people, noting that discrimination in the healthcare system posed serious risks. Police reforms. There were significant failures in how Victoria Police handled missing person cases, especially for the lead case of Bridget Flack. The coroner requested that police improve their risk assessments for LGBTQIA plus individuals and update their IT systems to better capture gender identity data. So
Yeah.
basically, I think in this case as well, they already deemed that they had a mental health risk and then they'd gone missing and they took too long where they could have used the GPS data on the phone and that they took way too long.
Right, they didn't start their
they
investigations until
didn't.
later, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it took too long. I think they should have done it the next day and I think in the article it said like 48 or 72 hours after the missing.
But what she's saying is that it was inappropriately long, which makes me think that it would have been different in somebody who wasn't trans.
That's what I'm assuming as well. But
Because if she's saying that the representation and the understanding from the police force and in healthcare has let the system down, it means that it was not just in any case, it was literally in this case with her being trans.
she did say that it wasn't just 1 or 2 police officers to blame, it was the systematic issues in the force over there in Victoria.
It all feeds back into each other, doesn't it? It's if you don't have the data that says that you have a large population, then you don't have the education behind it. And the lack of education means that there isn't education going to the appropriate people, which may not just be your normal Bobs and Joes out there not doing governmental work. It's the people who have engagement constantly and can make an impact on people's lives, like you do in healthcare, like you do in teaching, like you do in the police, like you do in anybody who's making decisions for our population. You need that understanding behind you because it's like people, it's similar, not 100% like, but it's like when you have people who are white and don't have an Indigenous background talking for people who are Indigenous. And I think that there's something very disgusting about that, in the fact that how can you represent something that you don't know? And I don't get it. In the same way as that if you haven't educated yourself and you don't understand the full...
This goes back to the government when they had the Minister for Health was a man.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Was it women's health specifically?
Oh, it was the Minister for Women's Health.
Oh, I thought you said men's health.
Yeah, the Minister of Women's Health was a man.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing.
And you're like, I mean, unless you're trans, you can be trans, but like, fuck, man. We're just a man.
Yeah. Because remember there was that
White
whole
men.
thing about the logo that looked like really bad and like anyway.
Oh, man.
Yeah, there's also calls for federal intervention on toxic substances. So a call for federal action was made to restrict access to a toxic substance used in some of the deaths.
What does that even mean?
So how are people allowed to access these certain substances?
Oh.
So I think they want to put harder restrictions.
Like poisons?
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder if that's what's come for, like when you go to Bunnings, which is like a hardware store, there's like a lot of restrictions even if you just want to buy paint.
Yeah, it's all
because
like...
it's solvents and stuff and people huff solvents.
And things are all like locked away and that kind of stuff. I'm assuming that's what they're asking for.
I don't know. Must be.
Must
be.
be.
A bit curious because it's not like you just got cyanide floating around.
No.
I wouldn't even know where you'd get cyanide from. Do they even have cyanide around? Or is that just I've been listening and reading some old shit.
I've no idea. No idea.
Very interesting.
The last thing as well, they've called for mandatory LGBTQIA plus training. The coroner recommended compulsory LGBTQIA plus training for police and healthcare professionals, focusing on the risks of suicide in the community.
Absolutely. Oh, I love this woman.
Especially because people forget that when you are an individual who is LGBTQIA plus, your risk of suicide is a lot greater in the community.
Yeah, it's a very high percentile. I can't remember what it's specifically, but I think it's greater than 50% or something like that.
Well, I think for example, in young kids, I think it's 1 in 4.
Yeah.
Which is too many.
Yeah, it is.
So these reforms are seen as crucial for addressing the mental health crisis faced by the trans and gender diverse population. Advocacy groups, including Switchboard Victoria, have vowed to hold institutions accountable for implementing these changes.
Yeah, wow.
And then the last news topic before we go on to our main topic is something that hits close at home, and I told you about it recently.
Oh, gosh, so, I'm not looking forward to this.
Albany Council to assess proposal to restrict children's access to sex education books. So basically, electors in Albany, Western Australia, endorsed motions to restrict sex education books, Welcome to Sex and Sex, a Book for Teens. Motions passed calling for restricting Welcome to Sex to people aged 16 plus, and for Sex, a Book for Teens to be pulled for Australian Classification Board assessment.
Why?
What's even more interesting is one of the books are actually up for a literary award.
I don't understand why.
Yeah, we're going to go on to that. Hundreds attended the meeting, which attracted about 400 people, and it included motions to safeguard public events. The petition driving the debates claims the books promote the sexualization of children. If they were a high school teacher, they'd realise that kids
have sex.
Yeah.
It is one of those things that we've found through evidence-based research is that if somebody is educated on sex, they are less likely to have sex. And they're more likely, if they do have sex, to actually use appropriate precautions and reduce the rate of sexually transmitted infections, diseases, and reduces the rate of unwanted pregnancies.
Basically, though, it's interesting because the people who are doing this are claiming the opposite, that it's going to cause, grooming and...
But grooming is not about the children. Grooming is about adults acting inappropriately.
Yeah. But they think that these books are going to lead to being able for them to be groomed. But I feel like if you're giving them this information, then they'll be able to realise that what's happening a bit earlier. Albany Pride, opposing the restriction, called this a moral panic and argued that vetted resources are essential for young people's education. KCSA, led by former One Nations candidate Michelle Kinsella, organised the petition, which was supported by some religious and political figures. Albany Pride was accused of promoting inappropriate events for children, claims they strongly refute. Opponents of the restriction argue that banning the books infringes on the library's role and limits access to accurate sex education.
Completely.
KCSA stands for Keep Children Safe Albany. If this does not sound like America...
I know, it does. I'm getting some deja vu here.
I told you it's going to start happening here. I wasn't expecting it to be WA firstly, but...
Albany, geez, I used to like Albany.
The group targets those two books. So the books are Welcome to Sex by Yumi Steins and Dr. Melissa Kang. It's a doctor in there. And Sex, a Book for Teenagers by Nicole Hasler, claiming these books sexualize children and mischaracterize them as grooming materials, which they are not.
Maybe they should actually read the book themselves.
I think a lot of the times they don't. They're just like, oh, it's got sex in the title.
Oh, God forbid.
All right. How dare they know about something that is going to affect them? KCSA has also targeted events organised by Albany Pride, specifically criticising an 18-plus twerking workshop held during their February festival.
It's an 18-plus twerk. It's 18-plus. It's in the title. Fucking hell. They didn't even need to read the book. They could have just seen the title.
Other concerns raised during the 2-hour meeting include a wide range of topics such as sex education books in towns, which we've talked about at the events, but also role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh no, the D&D community out there is dying.
Because it's a role-playing game, and I think because the ages were from 12 to 25, Kinsella said that it could be a part of a grooming group.
I'm so concerned for Kinsella. I'm so concerned.
It's Dungeons and Dragons.
Literally Dungeons and Dragons. It's dragons in dungeons. Like, it's got nothing to do with sex.
Yeah. But I think, and this is the last bit of this article that I was reading, and if you want to listen to all these articles that I've gone through, I'm going to put the links in our show notes. There's a lot that I got all this information from. I'm only giving you the basics. This is where I think it was all stemmed from, and this is all hidden in a way to attack trans people, because Kinsella's focus wasn't on LGBTQIA+, particularly. It was about sex, but when she was asked, are you attacking the LGBT community, she said no. Her focus was mainly on transgender individuals, claiming that the trans community have hijacked an organisation, I'm assuming she's talking about Albany Pride, and gone along an agenda of sexualising children and recruiting children. So all of a sudden, we're looking at like sex education books, and then you're blaming the transgender community.
I don't understand, because that's a sheer lack of information and understanding about being trans is not about who you're having sex with.
No.
Being trans is the gender you identify with. It's got nothing to do with anybody else. It's literally you and yourself and your own journey that you go on for your gender identity. It's got nothing to do with who you're having sex with. She doesn't understand.
No. So I feel like it's a way to attack transgender individuals, and they're starting with books. And that's how it started in America. They started with books and they went to the transgender community, and she didn't even wait a few steps. She waited in that one thing, gone from sex education to trans people and just attacking.
Do you know how you have all these people who start listening to incel kind of podcasts and TV shows and all that kind of stuff, and then you're just like, oh, they're indoctrinating the kids. I'm like, no, you're indoctrinating yourself with false news and hysteria, and you need to yourself educate yourself on evidence-based research or reliable resources and not become hysterical in these situations, because it's all just mass hysteria.
All right, our actual topic.
So buckle in. If you're driving home, drive safe.
Drive a little bit longer. In this episode,
just keep on driving around and around the block until
it's
we're
fine.
finished.
Go to McDonald's, get me one of those little Mario Kart toys.
Quickly, so McDonald's are doing Mario Kart toys in their Happy Meals. Archie's obsessed.
I've bought 5 Happy Meals and they're all Bowser.
Yeah, just saying.
5 Happy Meals in a weekend, I've not had McDonald's.
I haven't had a Happy Meal since I was a child, and now we've had so many. Anyway, on other notes.
In this episode, we'll dive into the history and significance of the rainbow flag, which has become a global symbol of LGBTQIA+ individuals and solidarity.
Ooh, so interesting.
Let's look at when it was created. In 1978, US gay activist Gilbert Baker designed the rainbow flag.
Oh.
He was encouraged by Harvey Milk. Do you know who Harvey Milk is?
No. Oh, Harvey Milk is in the people who make milk.
No.
You know how you got... Okay.
That's Harvey, US.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know he was from the US. Sometimes
it's a US gay activist.
Well, he could be from the US living in Australia, and he really likes the Harvey Milk.
Anyway, Harvey Milk was the first openly gay person elected to public office in California.
Great name. Such a great name.
And he encouraged Baker to create a symbol that represented the independence and pride of the gay community. Baker was inspired by the power of symbols like the US flag and wanted to create something simple yet meaningful. As a drag queen and an advocate for self-expression, he sought out a symbol that represented unity, similar to the way the stripes of the US flag stitched together, a collective identity. The previous symbol that was kind of connected to the LGBT community before this was what? We've done an episode on it.
Oh, don't even.
I'm pretty sure you did the episode on it.
Don't even.
So prior to the pride flag, what was kind of seen as the symbol?
There's been different symbols throughout history in how people have identified themselves as being queer. So there has been different markings that people have used in the way that, like, I think there is...
Keep going. I'm just dancing.
I'm just really enjoying your dancing. It's just such a shame that nobody else can see it right now.
I kind of have elevator music in my head while you're just
I thought you were giving me a clue. I was
no.
literally just like, are you giving me? It was like Mexican waving, and I
just needed to move. We've sat here for 40 minutes already.
Excuse me. Sometimes people used to put things on the lapels.
Think about it. It's an episode that you have done.
Man, have we not gone back again about how bad my memory is? I don't remember what I do. As soon as it comes out my mouth, I'm like, brain wipe. Okay, I've done an episode.
I think it was either just before or just after I talked about pink money.
Cool. All right. This is where I wish I could phone a friend and phone somebody else who listens to our podcast.
Did you want a clue?
Yes.
I already gave you a clue in what I just said.
It's not pink. They're not wearing pink. It couldn't just be a pink flag. It couldn't just be wearing pink.
It's not a pink flag. It's a pink
hat.
Do you give up?
No. Give me another clue.
We're going to be here forever.
Oh, that's fine. We've got nothing else to do.
Do you want another clue?
Yes.
Holocaust.
Just tell me.
All right. Previously, the LGBT plus community had reclaimed the pink triangle.
I don't know anything about the Holocaust.
I swear you spoke about the pink triangle.
No, I haven't. I think it was coupled in with your pink money. I think that you said a little bit about it, but we've never done an episode on it properly.
Well, anyway.
Fuck, honestly. Let's just continue on. Now you guys know how different our brains are.
So, reclaim the pink triangle, a symbol used during the Holocaust to mark homosexuals as an emblem of defiance. However, Baker felt the community deserved a new, positive emblem that wasn't tied to such a painful history, saying, we needed something beautiful, something from us.
Wasn't the pink triangle also part of the Pink Floyd album?
No, that's the rainbow triangle.
Is it?
It's a triangle with the rainbow prism because it's reflective.
I thought the outside of the prism was pink.
Ah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's white. So the first rainbow flag had how many colours?
5.
Incorrect.
4.
Incorrect.
3.
Incorrect.
7.
Close.
8.
Yeah. Baker's original flag had 8 colours, each symbolising different aspects of life. So hot pink, what do you reckon that stood for?
Birth.
No?
Do you want me to tell you why?
Why? Because the pink bits.
Of the what? Anyway,
hot pink was for sexuality.
Okay, tell me the topics. Tell me the topics and I'll tell you which colour.
I can't tell you the topics. Okay, so life.
Yellow.
Red.
Okay.
Healing.
Orange.
Correct. Sunlight.
Yellow.
Nature.
Green.
Magic.
Blue.
Close.
Indigo. Purple.
Starts with a T.
I was like, tree. What's it?
A colour starting with T.
What's a colour starting with T?
Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, tell me.
Turquoise.
Oh, fuck off. Turquoise isn't a real colour in the same way that, like, if I was talking about the rainbow, I'm not going to be like, oh, yeah, that's fucking turquoise.
Serenity.
Well, I don't know what colours are in the fucking rainbow now. White.
No.
Is that not in the rainbow?
Indigo. And then spirit.
Oh, fuck. I don't know. Blue.
Violet.
Fuck off.
So hot pink sexuality, red for life, orange for healing, yellow for sunlight, green for nature, turquoise for magic. Some people also said it was for art, but the one that came up more was magic. Indigo for serenity and violet for spirit.
Also, I've only started listening to what you were saying in regards to the actual topics, each themes. I'm like, magic? What the fuck does it mean by magic?
Don't know.
I'm so confused.
Anyway, the flag was first displayed on June 25th, 1978 at San Francisco Pride, made by a team of 30 volunteers. After Harvey Milk's assassination, the rainbow flag gained even more prominence and was widely embraced by the LGBT plus community at Pride events.
How could it not? It's got magic in it.
Over time, hot pink and turquoise were removed due to practical reasons, leaving us with the iconic 6-colour flag we see today. What do we think those practical reasons were?
The fact that it's harder to make those fucking colours and nobody sees turquoise in the rainbow.
Well, hot pink, it was hard to source the material. With the turquoise, it was based on the number of lines that it made more sense to get rid of the line. It made it look better by only having the 6 rather than the 7.
Okay. Oh yeah, no, it was equal on either side. But also, there are so many colours that are similar. If you think about a rainbow, you choose the primary colours and each you don't choose the colours that would be the combinations of them in between because you can see them.
But if you think about it, like a rainbow out in the real world, you do see those extra colours that are the blend of different colours.
I mean, I do, but let's just move on.
I'm almost done anyway.
Jeez.
So the cultural impact. The rainbow flag has grown into a universal symbol of pride and equality. Despite its joyful design, it is also tinged with struggle, representing the LGBTQ plus community's ongoing fight for rights and acceptance. It was not until 1994 that the rainbow flag was truly established as a symbol for LGBT plus pride. That year, Baker made a mile-long version for the 25th anniversary of the Stonewall riots.
I wonder how one would make such things. I wonder how well it was made.
Probably sewed, because he was a drag queen. He did a lot of his own outfits and stuff, so he
Oh,
probably
yeah, he
sewed the whole
probably
thing.
did.
Yeah,
Maybe this was the OG Drag Race.
possibly.
I wonder if he made a dress out of it afterwards and it could have been on RuPaul, because RuPaul's been around for a long time.
I have no idea. Maybe he didn't do an episode on the history of
RuPaul? I could do RuPaul. That would be
You
interesting.
could. I was going to say about Gilbert Baker, but go ahead. Yeah,
Oh, gosh. With Harvey Milk.
Harvey Milk and Gilbert Baker.
Great names.
Now the rainbow flag is an international symbol for the LGBTQIA plus Pride events and Pride in general, and can be seen flying proudly during both the promising times and the difficult ones all around the world. And if you do live in Australia, we also do have the Pride flag on certain buildings and that kind of stuff flown as well, which is really good. Other Pride flags, just a quick thing, the Bisexual Pride flag was introduced by Michael Page in 1998 with pink, purple and blue stripes, representing attraction to different genders and the fluidity of bisexual identity.
Do you know what? I'm just going to interject quickly. It's pink, purple and blue. So it's sexuality, it's, I don't remember what purple was, and then it's magic.
Purple, well, there's indigo and violet, so serenity or spirit there.
Hypersexual serenity magic.
Transgender Pride flag was created by Monica Helms in 1999, featuring blue, pink and white stripes
The trans flag is a beautiful flag. Go, Monica.
to represent traditional male and female colours, as well as those who are transitioning or gender non-conforming.
Love it.
And that's why you have the white in the middle. And then the Progress Pride flag, designed by Daniel Kassar in 2018, combining the rainbow flag with additional stripes for marginalised communities of colour, trans individuals and those affected by AIDS. But there is a bit of controversy that was surrounded with that.
Really?
And we can go into that in another future episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's lots of different flags. If you're listening to this episode, I'm thinking that I'm going to put up a little poster with all the different flags and seeing who can identify the most flags. I think that'd be a fun
facts.
little game to play, since nobody's guessed what was in your pocket yet. Nobody cared about what was in your pocket, Katie.
Oh, wow. I feel like all of a sudden that was very victimizing. I mean,
I didn't mean it like that. I meant that
That's
nobody was
fine.
interested in that game, or they didn't get through to the end
it
of
just
the,
keeps on getting worse.
or they didn't get through to the end of the episode. Maybe they didn't like my
Jeez
episode.
Louise.
What was my
No,
last episode?
it's all right. You can't come back from that. It's fine, guys. It's fine. I understand. I wouldn't want to either. I get it.
That was a quick little history of the rainbow flag.
Mr. Baker and Mr. Milk and magic. Anyway.
Thank you for listening all the way through to this episode. If you do have any ideas, please feel free to reach out to us. You can reach us on our email, but direct message is probably the best way to contact us.
If you want to rate, review and subscribe, go for it on any of your listening platforms. You can find us on Let's Be Perfectly Queer Pod at gmail.com. You can find us on Let's Be Perfectly Queer on Instagram and Facebook. We don't really check Facebook. It's for old fogies just like us. And like we said, how do we end things again, my love?
Oh yeah, until next time, I hope that we have been
Perfectly queer.
Let's be perfectly